Look, I'm not gonna mince words here. No fancy format, no flashy editing like a couple of my other movie reviews. Just my honest-to-God opinion on the new Predator movie, Prey. It was almost what I thought it was gonna be. All the broad strokes are there. Main character Naru is an entitled little shit. She starts out with medical expertise, notable tracking abilities, Assassin's Creed level parkour skills, and a hell of an arm for axe throwing. She also only performs her duties within the tribe begrudgingly and with an attitude, coming across ridiculously childish, to the point where she doesn't give a damn when her medicinal know-how saves lives. It means nothing to her because she only wants to be a warrior. Hell, she starts to have a meltdown when her brother is honored for killing a lion that she failed to bag herself, showing what a selfish person she really is. She is thoroughly unlikable from start to finish, and that's before she cuts off a man's leg and uses him for bait. A man she could have teamed up with, along with his whole massive hunting party, to kill the predator if only she could set aside her own bullshit for even one day. Were they good people? No, because this is one of those movies where all white people are evil and therefore deserve death. That doesn't change the fact that they offered to team up with Naru, though. No joke, every white man in this movie, French trappers I think, just FYI, are slaughtered in gruesomely brutal fashion. And it's portrayed as justice, because Hollywood screenwriters are fucking sick. This isn't just limited to whites, mind you. The warriors of Naru's tribe are near universally written to be one-note assholes who belittle her at any available opportunity. In this universe, they've all decided to be aggressively oppressive and disrespectful. Never mind the inconvenient truth that within most native tribes, there was a general understanding between the men and the women. The understanding that the men could not do what the women do, and vice versa. A mutual respect and acceptance that one could not survive without the other, leading to pretty cohesive communities. But hey, fuck the truth. All men are bastards and deserve to die, according to Hollywood. Anyway, no subtlety, no nuance. No examinations of why these characters do what they do. Just two-dimensional bullshit. And believe me, I'm an expert on 2D characters. This movie is just as inaccurate as those old flicks that portray natives as violent savages. And I don't care how many of the whitest slices of progressive white bread praise its authenticity. That means about as much as the Nintendo seal of quality. The only positive here is that actors with native lineage got roles. That's it. But anyway, Naru is, thankfully, not shown to be a Mary Sue in the traditional sense. She has a ton of skills, but the screenwriter is just smart enough to have her fail from time to time. For example, she throws her axe in an attempt to hunt a rabbit and actually misses. Awesome! There's room for growth, which can be fun to watch over time as... Oh. She attached a rope to her axe, and after 20 seconds of practice, not a montage, mind you, just 20 actual seconds of practice, we then cut immediately to her having like 10 dead rabbits slung over her shoulder. Who needs to see realistic progression anyway? Ain't nobody got time for that. Let's pretend this is an Elder Scrolls game and she just spammed her throw to level up the skills super quickly. That's the only way it can be justified. And don't get me started on plot armor. This girl falls out of a big-ass tree and cracks her head on a rock, and she wakes up perfectly fine. Didn't even have a wound that needed wrapped. She steps on a bear trap, but don't worry, she walks it off. The predator finally grabs her by the throat in the final fight, but he takes a minute to pause, reflect on his actions and his entire life up to this moment, and then decides to play with his food instead of snapping her stick figure neck, which would be easy to do. Believe me, I'm an expert on stick figures. Not to mention the dozens of times when the predator lets her walk, crawl, or stand around freely, leaving her untouched solely so she can spout one of the most horribly on-the-nose lines of dialogue I've ever heard. Believe me, I'm an expert on noses. They just have the main character outwardly state the entire point of the plot. Again, zero subtlety. It's something a high schooler would write before crumpling up the page and throwing it away out of embarrassment. But hell, I'll give them some credit for not letting her kill it outright in a clean one-on-one fight. They knew not to go that far. Instead, the predator was injured again and again throughout the entire film, and lost its mask, making it vulnerable. But do I think the final fight was good? Nah. We're meant to believe Naru figured out that the predator's cannon can only fire if the mask's targeting lasers are actively on a target. after seeing it used once. And that was enough for her to form a plan wherein she knocks the predator into some mud so that it stands up in front of its mask, which Naru set up on some rocks. We then have to believe that the predator would still attempt to use its cannon without having its mask to target, and also didn't bother to duck when it noticed the mask was targeting him. And that he also was so utterly dumbfounded by the terrible script that he forgot to duck at any point after the smart projectile flew a circle around the boss arena before returning to eventually obliterate him. Ladies and gentlemen, that is one dumbass alien. Unfortunately, I can't even be happy with the new Predator's design. It looked great, don't get me wrong, until the mask came off. Then I realized their hyped up redesign was just a knockoff of the Sangili from Halo, which was already a knockoff of OG Predator. So this new one is basically a degraded photocopy of a photocopy. Good job, team. If nothing else, the movie was kinda pretty, in regards to cinematography, anyway. There was one overhead shot that tried to get too artsy, however, where we see a lot of the Comanche women walking in one direction, and Naru walks alone in another. Gee, do you think that's meant to convey the fact that she's following a different path from her peers? Because it totally wasn't obvious and cringe-inducing at all. At least the CGI was okay, which seems to be kinda rare these days, honestly. Even the fake animals look better than the trailer would lead you to believe. The bear that tussles with the predator still looked a bit off, but for the most part, the CGI here never really pulled me out of the movie. The action scenes are another story. Some are alright, and even exciting to watch, but others become far too flashy for their own good. Naru has a tendency to bust out some ridiculous gravity-defying moves, much like Resident Evil's Alice, but on a much smaller scale. There's 2 or 3 instances of wall jumping off of trees that come to mind, making it feel like I'm watching an Assassin's Creed 3 movie or something. Naru also wall runs and kickflips off of a tree at one point to avoid the predator and make it injure itself. And hell, even her brother pulls off a horseback stunt that seems copied from the first Wonder Woman movie. Is it entertaining? Sure, if you can shut your brain off. Personally, I'm less willing to do that these days. It encourages laziness, and frankly, the standards for our entertainment have already fallen too far. But hey, check it out for yourself if you want. It's not the worst thing ever, I guess. I'm Baffled, and I hope to see you guys next time. Bye!